Water. We can't live without it. But in the world today, a lot of people can barely live with it. It's estimated that 1.8 billion people cook with, wash with, and drink contaminated water. 2.5 billion lack access to sanitation. In developing countries, people suffering from diseases caused by bad water, inadequate sanitation, and poor hygiene occupy half the hospital beds. Universal access to sanitation and clean water would save 2.5 million lives per year. Sounds expensive, right? But every dollar invested in water and sanitation returns on average more than $4 in increased productivity. Bottom line, we can't afford not to safeguard the world's water supply.
Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. I'm Hannibal B. Johnson. It's my privilege as president to welcome you to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Now, we hear the words holiday spirit bandied about this time of year, and sometimes holiday spirit is tough to muster. So I'm reminded of the Cherokee elder who said to his grandson, "My son, there's a battle between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy, and truth." So the boy thought about it and he asked, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" And so the old man quietly replied, "The one you feed." In this special season, let's all take care to feed the right wolf. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment now to silence your cell phones. Thank you. A special thanks, as always, to Tom Wolfe for our pre-meeting musical interlude. Tom. Let's begin our program with an invocation from Jerry Dillon, followed by song and pledge from past President Matt Davis, and visitor introductions from past President Karen Keith.
Shall we pray? O most holy one, we know that we are being held in your loving presence. We come to you with grateful hearts for the magnificent way you have blessed Rotary. You have pointed us to service above self in so many ways, locally, nationally, and internationally. We can only smile as we recall the hard work of Rotarians who have sacrificed their time and resources to put a grateful smile on the face of others. We're aware that this time of the year is a joyful one for many, but also a time when loss of family and friends is remembered. May our grief in missing those loved ones be filled with special and fond memories that will encourage us to carry on their good works, as well as how they have influenced us on embracing difficult life circumstances. You have graced us with the ability to combine our skills and talents to accomplish together far more than we could have done as individuals. We ask that you give us wisdom and discernment to each of us and to our leaders and staff in Rotary as we look forward to the new year with even more opportunities to share and dream and create and build. May all that we do be loving others, be pleasing to you. Amen.
Join me in singing God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome one and all today. I hope everybody is ready for the holidays. We're so excited to have you join us here, and we'd like to introduce all of our guests and their host Rotarians. So if you would please stand up when I call your name so we can see where you're sitting, and let's hold our applause until all guests have been introduced, unless you just can't help yourself. So let's begin with our visitors. Rotarian Tina Miller is hosting Jennifer Harrington. She's with Resolute PR. And Jennifer, really happy to have you here today. And Justin Jones has brought with him Casey Polk, and he's with Tulsa Tech. So nice to have you, and we hope to see you back here many times. And John Howland, Jim Millspaw. So welcome, Jim. Jim is with EMG Graphics. And Scott Philstrup is here with Margie Philstrup. And I'll save the surprise for later, but it's a big day. So we're so happy you could join us, Margie. And we have a visiting Rotarian. So please welcome from Will Rogers Club, Tom Gilbert. So thank you to all of our guests. Please come back and join us. And Tom, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Jerry, Matt, and Karen. And a special thanks to this week's meeting sponsors, Gable Gottwalls, past President Jeff Hassel, Paul Rossler, and John Dale, Greater Tulsa reporter Forrest Cameron, Small and Associates, Chris McEwen, Commerce Bank, Darren Walkup. Our announcements, committee meetings. The IBA Task Force will meet after this meeting in room 233. Rotary Youth Exchange will meet in room 234. Get well cards are on your tables for Jane Carlson. Please write a little note of encouragement. She's recovering from a broken foot and arm after a fall. It's a really nasty fall. Thank you to our Salvation Army co-chairs, Jerry Strange and DJ Morrow Ingram, and to all who rang the bells. We raised about $4,400, just shy of our $5,000 goal, and it's not too late to contribute if you're so inclined. Our upcoming programs, December 19th, Brian Kurtz, the Executive Director of Downtown Coordinating Council, will be our speaker. Also, there'll be a special guest appearance by the one and only Frosty the Snowman, so you've got to be excited about that. We won't meet on December 26th or January 2nd, so enjoy that extra time with your family. Be the inspiration. This week's Rotary Inspiration is Diane Peacock. Is Diane here today? Darn, but Diane is our Rotary inspiration. An anonymous Rotarian wrote the following. My inspiration is Diane Peacock. She's a welcoming presence at Rotary. Diane is unfailingly positive, enthusiastic, warm, and inclusive. Her smile lights up a room, and she genuinely cares about others and takes the time to let them know that they are special. So Diane, even in your absence, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, please accept your Rotary International themed Be the Inspiration lapel pin for being our Rotary inspiration. Let's hear it for Diane. If you've not already heard the great news, we are drilling once again in Nicaragua. Access to clean water means education, income, and health, especially for women and children. Clean water really changes everything. The gift of water is indeed the gift of life. And if you'd like to give to our water well project, please contact Judge David Peterson. This time, it's time for new member introductions. Please welcome Corey Nickerson, Joseph Bias, and past President Chuck Wilson with new member introductions.
Since our next member is a graduate of OU, and since Joseph was wearing a red sweater, I wore orange in honor of Bob Sade, wherever he might be. Kiden Creek Palm joins us today as a new Rotarian, but began his Rotary journey a little over 20 years ago during his freshman year in high school when past District Governor Tom Clark drafted him to play piano for the Sunrise Rotary Club. Kiden got up early every Wednesday morning and went to play for the Sunrise Club until his high school graduation. He came to our attention when he competed in the Crescendo Music Awards as a senior. He received $1,000 that first year when he tied for first place, then returned the following year and received $3,000 as the Bob H. Johnson Gold Award winner. A graduate of Edison in 2000, Kiden went on to study piano performance and political science at OU and then earned a master's in public health from Johns Hopkins, a law degree from Georgetown, and an LLM from the Paris Institute of Political Studies Law School in Paris, France. Underachiever. Kiden spent 8 years as an international anti-corruption attorney with the law firm of Hughes, Hubbard & Reed, based primarily in Paris, where he was also an adjunct law professor at the Sorbonne Law School, and where he met and married his American wife, LaShawn, who is also an attorney. Kiden and LaShawn have 2 young daughters, Zella and Cicely, and moved back to Tulsa last year when Kiden took a job as an attorney at Frederick Dorwart Lawyers in downtown Tulsa. Kiden currently serves on the boards of Tulsa Global Alliance and the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra, is a trustee of the Oklahoma Foundation for Excellence in Education, and is an alumnus of Leadership Tulsa Class 59. His Rotary connection continued when he purchased a 7-foot Steinway from Rotarian Bob Sade and was afforded the opportunity to visit Steinway headquarters in New York to personally select the instrument that now resides in their home.
Now, the sponsorship of Kiden into the club is free, Kiden, and your copy of the Rotary 4-way test is of nominal cost. However, this Rotary pin comes with a price tag. Since Crescendo Music Awards gave you $4,000 about 18 years ago, Corey has calculated that if you work with the Crescendo Music Awards Grants Committee until 2038, the pin will be paid for. Welcome to the Rotary Club.
I'll tell you the rest of the Jane Carlson story because Jane is actually Dennis's sponsor, so I'm substituting for her. She had a boot on already and fell and broke her arm. So the next time you see her, just open the door and stand back and get out of the way. Dennis Anderson was born in Los Angeles and grew up in the Pasadena area, where he met his wife of 50-plus years, Marcia. They have 2 children, Kevin of Tulsa and Mindy Madrid of Owasso. Both attended Oral Roberts University. They have 6 grandchildren ranging in age from 14 years to 14 months. Dennis attended Pasadena City College and then UCLA, where he became a lifelong Bruins fan. In 1961, during the Vietnam War, Dennis joined the U.S. Coast Guard and served for 2 years. After the service, he went to work in the packaging industry, first in sales, then in management for over 30 years. After retiring in 2005, Dennis and his wife, Marcia, moved to Tulsa to be near their children and their grandchildren. After a year of honeydews, Dennis returned to work and is currently a real estate agent for Keller Williams at their Midtown office. He is honored to join Rotary and is most excited to have the opportunity to give back to the community and meet new friends. Would you all please stand and welcome both of these great new members?
Thank you, Corey, Joseph, and Chuck, and welcome Kiden and Dennis. It's now Sarge time. So let's welcome Daniel Gomez, our Sarge.
Thanks, President Hannibal, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to start off with my recurring theme of standing up for my profession, and I'm actually happy to see we got another lawyer on board. Thank you.
Can't have too many. Never have too many lawyers.
Never have too many, of course. But you guys will remember my first one, I pointed out that we don't have a very good reputation for trustworthiness, so I'm always looking for ways to basically put another profession below us. Of course, this week, of course, it's meteorologists, right? Yeah. Can you really trust them? I mean, we were supposed to get completely snowed in, and it didn't happen. And I'm not creative enough to come up with some good jokes for that, so I let the internet do it for me. Here we go. This one it's a weather map, and of course, the blue, they have no idea. Purple, they have no idea, it's just in purple. The white, the meteorologist is telling us that the snow is white, thanks. And then in those little orange spots, something might happen. That's their forecast. Of course, this phenomenon that bread and milk disappears off the shelves, I don't get it. But anyways, it looks like Travis Meyer was awarded Bread and Milk Salesman of the Year 2018. Thanks, Travis. I like this one. Snow predicted oil and canvas. Best dramatic performance in weather forecasting. The top one is on Wednesday. They're predicting 12 inches. The very next day, it's 2 to 4 inches. And of course, we ended up with nothing, so. So I just want to make clear there are professions less trustworthy than ours. Okay, a couple of Sarge finds. Justin Jones, he's my fellow yearling class, $25. Happy birthday, Justin. Kurt Helen, $44 for his 44th birthday. Thanks, Kurt. Del Snobiger, $117 for 17 years in Rotary. That's great. Now this next one, I got bombarded on social media this week by people and their bell ringing, so I thought that was finable for self-promotion. So here's a couple of them. It says $250. I actually collected $350 because I got some late money in, so I thought it was worthwhile. So here's Stephanie Cameron and Rotarian of the Day, Daniel Regan. I think you guys were at Reesers, right? All right, great. Paula Wood and Karen Neal. I think there they are. Karen Keith and Tom Wolf, they were in front of Billy's downtown. Here's Matt Davis. Clearly a selfie, so if anybody wants to get him a selfie stick, it might look a little bit better there, Matt. Maybe Santa will bring you a selfie stick. This one's my favorite. It's Tim Caldwell. I'm really impressed with Tim's hashtag game. Hashtag spirit of the season. Hashtag helping those less fortunate. Hashtag is this tinnitus or just the brass bell? And I had to look up tinnitus. That's a ringing in the ears. Yes. So I may be the only person who didn't know that, but that's pretty impressive, Tim. I like it. Captain Bill and Barbara Kogeman, they can't be here today, but Bill wanted me to share this with you. It's, okay, does anybody know the answer to this? Do you know the difference between the Christmas alphabet and the regular alphabet? Anybody know? That's right, there's no L. Don't do that to me. I didn't write the joke. Come on, guys. And of course, now I got a big one here. It's my pleasure to do this. Scott Philstrup, sitting right here with his lovely wife, he has donated $5,000 for 50 years of marriage. So Scott and his wife Margie have been married for 50 years. Scott's been a Rotarian since 1980. Well known, everybody knows him. He's a proud Northwestern graduate. By the way, they had a great football season, played for the Big Ten championship, going to the Holiday Bowl against Utah. Scott, of course, is known for his generosity, so this is just a drop in the bucket. But he's also known as a supporter of junior achievement, and also your family is a big Rotary family, is that right? All right, so Scott's father or grandfather co-founded the Rotary in Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, Michigan. His father was a 40-year Rotarian in Michigan, and his brother Al is past president of Fox Chapel, Pennsylvania branch of Rotary, so big Rotary family. Here, of course, is a picture of Scott and Margie. A little more recent, still looking good. The family there. And of course, you got to go back. And I think you guys look just as good today. So thanks again, Scott. That's so generous of you. He's actually allocated his payment, $4,000 for Camp Enterprise. And it's great news that the water wells are flowing again. So Scott is, $1,000 of it is to honor his brother, Al. So Scott, Margie, congratulations. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, I'll just close where I did last week on bowl games. Take your picture, send it to me, pay a fine. Phil Viles rightfully called me out that I only focused on these two schools. He's going to be at Virginia's bowl game, and Phil, you better send me a picture and a fine if you're gonna point that out to me. But same for everybody else. If a lot of graduates in here, my other school is SMU, and they're terrible, so we're not going to bowl game. That's all I got this week. Thank you, Scott. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Thanks, Daniel. Next up is Lane Dolly with some information on Business Visitation Day.
Hi, Rotarians. Business Visitation Day is on the horizon. It's going to be January 23rd, 2019 this year, so please mark your calendars. And remember, there's no regular meeting that day, which is a real incentive to participate. New members, this program is really a door opener, and it will show you what makes Tulsa firms and organizations tick. You'll learn from other Rotary members. You'll learn about other Rotary members about their work. You'll see what's happening, what's trending, and who's making a difference. We need approximately 12 businesses to volunteer as hosts, and already 3 have stepped forward. First, Mike Homan of Terracon, an engineering services firm. You heard him at the mic tell us about his organization, and we see that Terracom's on the move. Second, Michelle Place of the Tulsa Historical Society. Michelle's curiosity and her love for the community had led her to host this year, and she said, I want to see what's happening behind the scenes. Well, on January 23rd, she'll probably serve up some historical surprises along with lunch. And then third, President-elect David Wagner of Schnocke-Turnbow-Frank Public Relations. He'll give an inside look at how professionals strategize their clients' words and deeds. And that means there are only 9 slots left, and there's huge competition, so everybody think about it before Christmas or you'll get caught up short. And on your tables, please look at your sign-up sheet. I just want you to know that the hosts will talk about and decide amongst themselves the number of participants for each of their organizations, and they'll decide about lunch options, and I'll help you in any way I can. You can text or email me. And just remember, it benefits not only you, but the Rotary Club and your community for Tulsa businesses to participate in Business Visitation Day. And I want to make it a vivid, exciting experience this year. Learn the backstory. Like Michelle said, see what's happening and get the inside scoop. Thanks.
Thank you. Now let's welcome Tricia Kirkstra with some information on Scry.
Thank you, President Hannibal. Hi, everybody. Okay, another date in January, Friday, January 25th, save the date for the Scry weekend. SCRY stands for South Central Rotary Youth Exchange. So Rotary clubs all the way from Canada to Louisiana, everybody in between, they come to Tulsa that weekend. We have to have mandatory training by the Department of State. So while the Rotarians are here that weekend getting their training, if they're hosting youth exchange students, they bring the students. So there'll be 200 international students here that weekend. Our club and our little youth exchange committee, we coordinate the home hosting on Friday night for the students. The Sand Springs Club coordinates the lock-in on Saturday, so we have the better gig. So if you are interested in hosting 2 or more students on that Friday night, Friday, January 25th, there are sign-ups on your table. I will be sending out emails. It'll be in the Monday Visitor. But basically, you pick up your student on Friday afternoon, feed them dinner, get together with another family, feed them breakfast and lunch the next day, return them to the hotel by 2 o'clock, Tulsa Marriott Southern Hills, John Howland, 2 o'clock, and then that's it. So you get to enjoy these students and hear about their lives and hear about their life in America. I just love the dichotomy. I mean, you'll have a kid from Vienna living in Cassville, Missouri, and you just get to hear about it. It's awesome. So anyway, if you'd like to do that, Friday, and what's the date? January 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Our Rotarian of the day is Daniel Regan. Daniel is a 4th-generation Tulsan who has spent the past 20 years pursuing entrepreneurial ventures, including his family's company, Garden Diva Sculpture. He's also devoted considerable time and energy giving back to the community through nonprofit and civic leadership roles. Daniel serves on the boards of the Foundation for Tulsa Schools, Oklahoma Academy, and Tulsa's Great Raft Race. He has served on the Tulsa Regional Chamber's Executive Committee as the 2016 TIPRO's chair, as president of Tulsa Advocates for the Rights of Citizens with Developmental Disabilities, or TARC, and as a member of the Downtown Coordinating Council. Daniel recently ran for Tulsa City Council, District 4, and he's Executive Vice President at Price Family Properties. Please help me welcome our Rotarian of the Day, Daniel Regan.
Thank you, President Hannibal. Thank you all for being here, and I'm happy to be able to introduce my friend, very talented and esteemed fellow Rotarian, Tom Gilbert. Tom joined Tulsa World in May of 1998 after 2 internships. He became the chief photographer in 1988, and in 98 became the chief photographer and started a beer blog called What the Ale in 2013. He's a University of Central Oklahoma graduate with a degree in photographic arts. He graduated from Broken Arrow High School in 1984 and completed Tulsa Votech's 2-year photography program. He has lived in Saudi Arabia and traveled in various countries in the Middle East and Europe. He is married to Karen Gilbert, who was a Tulsa City Councilor and is now the Executive Director of the Citizens Crime Commission. They have 3 grown children, 1 married, 1 that just finished her final year of college, and a son working in the oil industry in Midland, Texas. His work has been published in the New York Times, Washington Post, Sports Illustrated, and in numerous books. He is also the house photographer at concert venues in and around the Tulsa area. If you follow Tom on social media, you'll know that he has likely more photographs with celebrities than anybody else you know. He also likes to homebrew and run in his spare time. Please help me welcome Tom Gilbert.
All right, thank you very much. Let's see if we get that first slide up. And then first, since I am a photographer, I got to get a picture from up here. All right, everybody smiling? Yes. All right, looks good. All right, there's probably not too many pictures from up here, but anyway. First, a little bit about myself. He went over some of the highlights, but the reason that I do what I do is basically when my dad got a job in Saudi Arabia. This was 1979, 1980, and I was still a teenager, or just 13 or 14, and we went to Riyadh, and I, of course, grew up in Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow to Riyadh's a little bit of a culture shock for most people. So, I hadn't been away from my home in Broken Arrow, so getting to know people, being excited about seeing different places, traveling all over the Middle East and Europe. One of the things that happens, you live in a compound there. And you work for the Corps. My dad worked for the Corps of Engineers, so it was a lot of military, but a lot of geologists and people building things there. So there, they don't allow alcohol. There's no alcohol. The kingdom is alcohol-free, supposedly. But I know for a fact that during, like 4th of July, they have big parties, at their compound, and they bring over these alcohol in office supply canisters. I mean, it was labeled office supplies. Well, I guess it depends on which office you work at, but that's where all the beer and the wine was in these canisters with office supplies. So that I wasn't drinking at that time, but I was learning how to do photography. I mean, I was an avid photographer, learning how to take photos and processing my own film, making prints, doing all the things that create processes. And so when I went to learn about things like that, there, since they don't have alcohol except for occasionally, a lot of people are making wine and beer. So there was a lot of home brewers in this compound. I mean, they weren't going out selling it, they were just making it for themselves. So I learned at an early age how to process, the process of making beer, and I thought it was like, it was crazy, it was fun, and it was a process. Well, then my family started traveling to Germany, and then we went to, I'm learning about cultures and everything else. So the culture in Germany is beer is part of the culture. I mean, breweries are part of the culture. Everything sort of you always sit down and have a beer. It could be lunch or dinner or whatever. So that culture, and my parents, I was 13 at the time, I was able to drink beer and not have any issues like, oh my gosh, this is, you're going to die because you're drinking beer. I mean, it was just a part of life. So that turned me on to the beer culture. And my sister, lived in Germany, so I went back in my high school year, senior year, traveled all over Europe, and got some more culture. Then we had to come back to Broken Arrow. That was the thing. It's like, you come back to Broken Arrow, and it's like, well, it's a bedroom community. There's not really much social, there's socializations, but it's not like in Germany or other places. And so I started homebrewing when I got back. So I was 14, and I started making my own beer. I found a little ad in the back of Popular Mechanics, how do you make your own beer? And my parents said, yeah, go ahead, whatever. And so I made beer when I was 14. And, of course, I wasn't out doing anything. I was just making things like I was doing photography. I was doing things and, doing the process. And so I learned early on the beer culture and how to make beer. And so that was part of my passion. Photography and beer were my passion. I've been home brewing for a long time. Not recently, because there's so many great beers out there. I don't have time to brew. I probably have one of the best jobs that anybody can have. I get to go to concerts, I get to meet celebrities, and I get to drink a lot of beer. It's really fun. I have my wife, she's great too. So everything's working out really well for me. And as you know, we're going to get into the breweries in Tulsa, which has been crazy. Oklahoma is, the law just changed, and so we're now like a regular state. We're not back behind. 3-2 beer is no longer, although there is 3-2 beer, it's just, it's just that type of beer. But we were the largest consumer of 3-2 beer in the United States. So with that going away, Budweiser, Coors, the big boys, probably will stop making it, and these other states will have to get the regular beer as well. Let's see if I can get the stats up here. We'll get the stats out of the way. So Oklahoma is small breweries are one of the largest, what do you call it? It's an entrepreneur thing to do. They don't have a lot of employees, so it's an actual small business. They pay taxes, they employ a lot of local people. It's not a conglomerate that's owned by a Belgian company. All this money stays back into your local community. So, and when 424 passed, that was where breweries were able to actually sell the product they made. Back when Marshall Brewing started, was 10 years ago, he legally was not able to sample his own beer in the brewery. That's how far our laws have gone. So at 424, they were able to sell their own beer. First, they were able to give samples. Now they can sell their own beer. So you can see the growth, and this is only in 2016. In the stats, there's 7,000 breweries in operation in 2018, 7,000. And it'll grow to 9,000. This is a crazy small business gone crazy. I mean, the craft brewing industry has just gone crazy. And a little bit, I sort of got in on the front of this. When I started my blog, we had one brewery in Tulsa. And then I'm like, well, this is fun. I can just talk about beers that come in. And we had lots of beers coming in, but this last year we had like 4 or 5. I was writing a new brewery story nearly every week this last year. It was crazy. Another stat, let's see if I can skip this up. So Oklahoma, since we didn't have the laws that worked well for us, we're 48th in the U.S. per capita on breweries per capita. 48. So we're like education in the sense that we're down at the bottom, but there's only room to grow. So and grow we have been. Let's see here. Let's get on to Marshall. I see that my transfer of PowerPoint didn't quite work out, so I apologize for that. So Eric Marshall and Adam Marshall started Marshall Brewing Company about 10 years ago. And they didn't brew Low Point beer at the time. They distributed all their beer. And Adam and Eric like I said, they changed the law where 424 you were able to buy the beer at the brewery. And when I was writing my blog, I harped on that all the time. We can't sell what we make at our place. You just can't sell it. You have to sell it to somebody else. And at that time, you sold it to a distributor. You didn't know where your beer went. It just went out the door. You couldn't quality control. It went to a liquor store, but you didn't know how long it had sat on the shelf or anything like that. So the laws have changed now where you can actually know where your beer is and how long it's been sitting there. So a lot of things have happened and have been great. I'm sort of going by this. So Eric started it in Tulsa. When I went to see Eric, he was actually cutting holes in his brewery to put lines in. He was by himself. It was an August day. It was 100 degrees out, and he's out there working. Hard-working guy, and he makes some great beers. But he sort of spawned off a lot of the other breweries in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, too. For one, is the Cabin Boys. Cabin Boys is a year old. They are at capacity like almost every other brewery in town. They're right next door to Marshall's at 6th and Utica. So Cabin Boys, young guy, worked over at Elgin Park, which was a brew pub, and Eric Marshall set up that brewery, and then Austin McElroy in the middle, and with his wife there, Lisa, started Cabin Boys. And the reason they did Cabin Boys, on Facebook you get to see, hey, we're going to start a brewery, so of course I go, hey, let me talk to you. And so Cabin Boys got their name from a cabin thing. He lives over by Catoosa, and his folks have a lot of acreage over by Catoosa, and they built an actual cabin. And so it was a natural name for them to be called Cabin Boys. And this is not a small cabin, it's a large one. And his wife does all the artwork. It works out, a great family operation. Of course, and they're at 7th and Utica. Let's go to the next one. I want to keep on going through. So Eric started the Elgin Park Brewery. Ben Burney is a brewer at Elgin Park, 24 years old. So he's brewing for a brewery, and he's actually 24 years old, which is great. I mean, and he's really good. So Elgin Park is now able to brew full-strength beer after the law changed too. So they were limited to making 4% beer, and just now recently have been able to brew regular beer. And they do quite a bit too. They actually they self-distribute to some of the other Pinelli's properties. Next on the list, when I first started, there was actual place to buy beer supplies to homebrew. It was called Winecrafts and More. It was on Peoria for years and years. Then it went away, and then Mecca Coffee started selling some stuff. Pippin's Tap Room, or High Gravity started Pippin's Tap Room, and they're over at 68th and Memorial. So almost all the brewers that I'm talking about today have gotten their supplies from High Gravity. They sell wine, wine stuff. You make cheese. Actually wine. I make wine too. Wine is a lot easier to make than beer. So just to point that out. Although I don't drink a lot of wine, it's easy to do. So pretty much they've touched a lot of lives. I'm sort of going like how these people have touched lives. So Tony Peck with Dead Armadillo, he got the name Dead Armadillo from when he was cleaning out a shed up in his parents' house in Kansas, and he found a dead armadillo. He's like, well, we can make a dead armadillo. So, you know, and of course, got a lot of, you know, things you can use. They've done great. They use the Tulsa flag for one of their beers called Tulsa, and it's their #1 seller. They just informed me that they're buying a 30-barrel system, which they had a 10-barrel system. He's at capacity. They brew as much as they possibly can and can't make it fast enough, and that's why they're all growing. So Tony, there's a thing called co-ops, and it's actually where a brewer doesn't have a brewery to brew in, so he will brew at someone else's facility. Tony brewed in Roughtail in Oklahoma City for a while and to get his beers on the market, and then once he gets a brewery, they can sell their own beer. So it works out really nice that other breweries can help. I mean, it's a community. This is basically what I'm talking about is community. The beer, drinking beer together as a community, and the brewers, they all get along. Okay, this is me with well, actually, I'm part of the Hansons now. I'm one of the brothers. They have done so much for Tulsa in more ways than one. I mean, they started the Hop Jam, which is it's a beer festival. 40,000 people come into Tulsa to try beers. The whole from Brady, from Kane's Ballroom all the way to I think it's Elgin or First Street, full of booze for breweries, and then they have a concert afterwards. And I know personally lots of people follow me and start texting me and Facebooking me, hey, you know I share pictures like this and say, oh, can you get in close with the Hansons? And I'm like, well, they're just friends. I mean, I'm not, tell me about them. I'm like, But the guys are great. They love beer. They've traveled all over the world and they know what a good beer is. And when they started making their own beer is called Hops. And they actually have co-opted with Tony a little bit and Dead Armadillo to make some of their beers. And O'Fallon as well. So that goes into the scene where cooperation with other breweries. So they're great. Another world-renowned, put Tulsa on the map for breweries and beer. Chase Healy, so there's rock stars and there's brewery stars. So Chase Healy is a brewery star. His brewery was named #1 new brewery in the United States 2016. So, and it's American Solera. And he actually started Prairie Artisan Ales and sold that to Krebs Beer Company, which is down near Muskogee. They're famous. The reason he's famous is because he started it's called the Prairie Bomb. It's called The Bomb. It's an imperial stout, 13% alcohol with hot peppers and cocoa beans. And, it's just one of those beers. It's like, wow, this is crazy. And his brother actually does the artwork for Prairie. So Chase sold Prairie. We got Prairie Brew Pub up here as well. And started American Solera. American Solera is more of Solera means blending. So he blends a lot of beers and uses lots of fruits. His beers are a little bit more expensive, but they've also been aged 6 to 8 months. So it's it's a different type of beer, but it's really, I shouldn't say that. I think women probably like their beer more. If you don't like beer at all, then you could try that and you'd probably really like it. So Chase spawned off other people. He actually has another brewery at 18th and Boston. It's called Sobo. So that's his brewery. And Daniel's brother is actually a brewer at American Solera. So we got Sobo, then Heath Glover started Willow's Family Ales, which started with Prairie. So as you can see my point where it sort of spreads out. People start working at a brewery and then it spreads out to other. So the Willow's Family Ales is at 4th and Peoria. It's about a 2-year-old, maybe a year old. Used to be a food truck place. It's got a huge, like an acre in the back. It's really pretty. Got a skyline. It's gorgeous. So Willow's Family Ales, and his artist is actually a artist from Jinx that lives in Denver now. Does crazy artwork. So then there's Greg Anderson. He's the brewer for Prairie. So we're still stepping down from Chase. Prairie Artisan Ales. Now it's Prairie Brew Pub. So Greg does a good job. They have a smaller system there, but they import all their beer from Krebs, and so they have a lot of great beers. The Bomb's still one of their most popular beers. The reason that got very popular was they got picked up by an international exporter called Shelton Brothers. Shelton Brothers exports all over the world, and I have a friend that lives in. I've met a lot of friends since I lived in Saudi Arabia, so I have a friend in Sweden, and I saw a post where they're having a beer tasting of Prairie Artisan Ales in Sweden. It's like, hey, can you go over there and check it out and tell them I said hello? You know, it was crazy that they had that much reach, and they were founded right here in Tulsa. It's crazy. Let's go to the next on the list. Jake Miller was the brewer for Prairie Artisan Ales as well. So Jake started Heirloom Rustic Ales in an old auto body shop, auto machine shop in Admiral, over in Kendall Whittier by Admiral and Lewis. And so it's basically, if you put in a brewery, it sort of changes the dynamic of the community. It cleans it up, people start coming. I mean, this is an old garage that apparently they had like murders there. I mean, they're actually going to make a beer named after a murder because they think it was a Mexican mafia or something because it was a Hispanic garage. And so anyway, they got it all cleaned up and they spent lots of money, put it into the brew house, and now it's as popular as ever. So in an area that was really needing some help. So Jake Miller and Zach French started that. And they do a lot of, every one of these breweries has a little bit different kind of beer. So if you don't like something, go to another brewery. But every brewery has lots of different beers too. So when you go to one, if you don't like one, try another one. I mean, they have flights that you can try 4 or 5 different kinds of beers. Next on the list is Renaissance. Now his story is pretty crazy. He also co-opted and brewed at Dead Armadillo. But Glenn Hall started from scratch. He's the only brewery that I know that's actually built the building from the ground up. He did this at 11th in Peoria, and he had to go through multiple zoning changes. He had to go through, my wife had to vote on getting that zone changed to light industrial, which I said, go, do it. But, you know, she doesn't listen to me sometimes. No, she voted for it, and great new location across from the market, yeah. So he's at capacity as well. He's getting ready to buy another tank. All these breweries, you think that we have so many breweries that we're going to be at capacity. Well, all the breweries that are here are at capacity, brewing as much as they can. And that's a good thing. I mean, that means that we're, again, 48th in the U.S. Welltown. Welltown is at Archer and 114 West Archer. It's down across from the new Tulsa Municipal Theater, which used to be Brady Theater, or going to be. So it's right there. They took an old burlap factory that was built in the 20s and turned it into, it's really a beautiful building. They spent a bunch of money on this building. Their brewery's beautiful. Everything that they did was top notch. They have a big place on the roof where you can sit down and have a beer and overlook the downtown Tulsa. It's really gorgeous. And those guys probably do pretty well, just from the location alone. Okay, another one that all these guys I talked to before they even sold a beer. Travis Richards started, I think it was 2012. Anyway, he could not think of it. He kept on trying to get a name of his brewery. He kept on trying, looked at the internet. Oh, that one's taken, that one's taken, that one's taken. So they said, well, there's nothing's left. And so they said, hey, we got it. That's the name of our brewery. And he built a brewery right next to, it's at 1501 East 6th Street. So it's in the Kendall Whittier or Pearl District. And they are, it's an old Texaco, and if you haven't driven by there, it's just go down 6th Street right past, well, in between Peoria and Utica, and you'll see it. It's a nice, they've done a great job. His actual day job was as a contractor, so they did a really nice job on fixing this brewery up, and it's an old Texaco station. So now getting back to my hometown, who would have thought, you know, after this many years, Broken Arrow would actually have a brewery. And Broken Arrow Brewing Company started off as Indian Brewing Company. They're Cherokee Indians, and they checked it out with the Cherokee Nation, said, hey, is it all right if we call it Indian? Oh, yeah, that's great. We love, you know, bringing it back. And they got so much flack for calling it Indian Brewing Company, and so they decided, well, we're going to change the name to Broken Arrow Brewing Company. So luckily, I was there at the beginning, and I got the Indian Brewing T-shirt, and I got the coasters, and so I've got some collectibles for that. But Austin Ferguson's the tallest guy there and his dad, but they changed the old a power company and it's an ice house building in downtown Broken. I mean, I drove down, I've been by that place 1,000 times. I was like, never would have thought it would be a brewery, but the Broken Arrow community has embraced them. They're distributing to all the Rose District restaurants. The place is really cool if you want to go into an old place. They kept it a lot of original bricks and stuff like that. It's a very, very cool place. We're getting close to the end here. New Era just opened up. They're the first gluten-free brewery. It's at the dock, 321 South Frankfurt. So Jonathan Neff is, celiac, so he cannot have any gluten. So there's only like 6 breweries that are just gluten-free, major breweries, but he decided, they have it's a brew pub, so they have a restaurant as well. So if you have any problem with that, it's good no matter what. Even if it's gluten-free, it's still good. I tried their beers, it's good stuff. But really nice venue. It's called The Dock. It's an old grocery store right next to the box yard. So there's one other brewery in a casino, and I think it's up by Veneta, up by Miami. I never had heard of it, so I got in trouble when I said that Nine Band was the first brewery to be in an Oklahoma casino. So Osage Casino's got Nine Band Brewing. Nine Band is an actual Texas brewery that wanted to locate in Oklahoma and do all the distribution in Oklahoma. So they have a really big brewery up at the Osage Casino, and they got state-of-the-art stuff. And their beers are more entry-level, so if you are a Bud Light drinker, drink some Nine Band, because it's a lot better than any kind of Bud Light or anything like that. So that wraps up the breweries. The next thing that comes up, though, is distilleries. We've got 2 distilleries in Tulsa. Oklahoma Distilling is right near Marshall Brewing Company and Cabin Boys. And I forgot to mention that American Solera is moving next door to Cabin Boys. So we're going to have Cabin Boys, American Solera, Marshall Brewing Company, Nothing's Left. What did I miss? And Oklahoma Distilling. And they're all within not even a half a mile of each other. And 4 of them are going to be within walking the same block. So that area is going to be crazy. Hunter Gamble started with the vodka. You can see he does all Oklahoma type vodkas. He calls Indian grass vodka, and he's got some whiskeys. He blends whiskeys. He started a cidery, and he's got a meadery, and they are either just opened or getting ready to open in the next couple of weeks. And it's, again, right across the street from Cabin Boys. And Mary Fallon got through vetoing the law that allows them to sell their spirits at their distillery. So he doesn't sell the spirits, but he sells tours, and you get free samples. So if you want to try some free samples, that's what you get to do. And the tour doesn't last very long, really. So there's also, these guys are a lot of fun to be around too. So Red Fork Distillery is the last one on the list, and they just opened up their tours. And I'm not sure what they're doing. I need to do a story on them, catch up. I did it when they first announced they were coming out. They're at 3110 Southwest Boulevard. So that's why they're Red Fork, that's the name of the area. And he's a construction guy and decided he wanted to open a still and makes moonshine and whatever else he wants to make, and whiskey. So it's really amazing how when I started What the Ale, I pretty much had one brewery to work on, and now there's up to 15. There's 15 type distilleries, breweries, everything else. So it's been pretty crazy, and I just want to thank the Tulsa World for letting me do what I do. So if you don't have a subscription to Tulsa World, it's very cheap online. Just go online and subscribe. I know it's expensive on the paper, but it's cheap online. That's where I reside most of the time, but I'm in the paper as well. That sort of wraps it up. Thank you very much.
Stick around a few minutes for questions if there are. Thanks, Tom, for a great presentation. Tom has agreed to stick around for a few minutes after our meeting if you have questions that you'd like to pose to him individually. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton, and the book this week is An Amazing Snowman. So I think the book selection was made based on the weather forecast that we got last week. So let's not lose sight of that grand Rotary International vision. Together, we see a world where people unite, take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Please note that our new members and their sponsors will be at the guest table area in the foyer as you exit. Please take a moment personally to welcome Kaiden and Dennis to our Rotary family. And with that, we are adjourned.